Well, hello everybody and welcome to Kat's Tiny Kitchen. Today we're going to do some tomatoes. Our garden has produced quite a few tomatoes for us this year. So what I'm going to do today is show you how I do my diced tomatoes. I've got quite a bowl here that I've got to get going. So if you want to hang around with me, I'll show you how I do it for myself, and then maybe you can use the techniques for yourself also. So let me get this all set up and we will get the show on the road. Thank you again for coming along. I've got my garbage bowl here and my bowl that I'm going to put my tomatoes in. I'm just going to show you a little bit of what I do. I got some of them washed off and it's pretty easy. I don't do a whole lot of cleaning when I'm blanching tomatoes, so I'm just going to cut the top off and then I'm going to put a small slice in the bottom of these. Oops, wrong bowl, sorry. So this is what I do. I'm going to do this with all of my tomatoes. Now, I do look for bad spots, but when it comes to peeling, you see these other little spots, they're going to peel off anyway, so we just keep going. So while I'm waiting for the water to boil, I want to talk to you a little bit about the kind of tomatoes that I got this year. I actually got my seeds through Hoss Seeds, that's H-O-S-S. They're actually called Hoss Tools, but they have a seed division, and their seeds are excellent. The germination rate on all of the seeds that I got this year was pretty high, almost 100% for all of the tomatoes and the squash that I bought. The variety of tomato that we're canning today, this is a Roma tomato. It's called Shelby, and it's on the same line as the San Marzano. It's a very meaty tomato, and it will hold up very well for canning. And since we're going to dice today, I've already done some of these earlier this year, and they held up very well. So I'm going to be very pleased with my outcome this year. We use a lot of diced tomatoes, and I'm hoping that I can get enough out of mine to get us halfway through the winter, and then I'll actually be going out to a friend's to purchase more tomatoes that he's got to get us all the way through the winter. We still have salsa, and we still have some spaghetti sauce to make this year, so we will be buying a lot. The tomatoes we grow in the backyard, in our raised beds, and in the flower beds, and wherever else we can squeeze them in, we use for our own personal consumption throughout the summer. This year I got a little crazy and we ended up with 11 plants, so we had a lot of tomatoes that I could do more with this year. There's nothing better than going out into your backyard and picking a tomato off of a plant that's ripe and ready to go and just taking a big old bite out of it. They taste so good. So while we're waiting for the water to boil, I just wanted to give you a little bit of that information, and I'll be back and we'll start on with the next step. So my water is boiling, it's simmering right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the tomatoes in for about 30 to 45 seconds until I start to see the skin starting to peel, and then I'll pull them out and I'll put them in a sink. I have the sink full of cold water, and that'll help cool the tomatoes down so that I can handle them and peel them. And we'll put 6 in. I'm going to put my lid on a jar because I still want to be able to see the tomatoes while they're doing their thing. Like I said, these are very firm tomatoes, very meaty tomatoes. There's not a lot of moisture in them. It may take them a little longer to let go of their skin. One. Alright. I'm going to show you here one of them, as you can see. I'm hoping you can see that it's let go of its skin, so I'm going to plunge them in the cold water. And we're just going to continue this process until all the tomatoes are done. This doesn't really take that long. The longest part of it is peeling them, then cutting and dicing them. Once you get all that stuff done, it's the smooth sailing from there. Once you get this started, the water does cool down, so it will take a little longer as you go along for the water to heat back up a little bit and get the peel going. There we go. A couple more. So before I get into this next part, I have to show you this apron. A very dear friend of mine got this for me, Donna, and it is hilarious, and it is my favorite apron, and I'm going to put it on because I'm going to get messy now. We did the easy part, now it's the messy part, so I want to make sure that I don't get anything all over my clothes, so if I go out later, I can. And I don't know if you can see this. It says, grab your balls, it's canning time. And I just love this apron because it is so true. And if you're a canner, you're going to know what it means for real. So give me a minute to get everything situated, and we will start with the next step. So now we get to peel, and this is the fun part. This is a little messy. I got my garbage bowl here, but I think this time when I get these done peeled, I'm going to save the peels. I'm going to dehydrate them. I saw out on the internet that you can actually dry them and grind them, and you can use them as the skins as thickeners in other meals that have a tomato base to them. So I want to check out the theory. I know it's going to take a lot of tomatoes, but we're just going to go ahead and do a test drive on it. That way I'm not wasting a whole lot of time. If it works, when I get my other tomatoes and do my salsa and my sauce, then I will definitely think about dehydrating the rest of the skins. So let's get this going. And hopefully you can see me okay. And basically we're just going to peel the skins off. They don't always come off easy on some of these tomatoes, but that's okay. If you do happen not to get all the skin off of them, a little skin in your dice isn't bad. If you notice in your cans at the store, sometimes you end up with skin in your dice. And this is a little bit of a hard one. Let me get my other bowl going here. There we go. This is going to be an easy one. If you do them right, this is what happens. They pretty much peel pretty doggone easily. Hopefully I got you in my shot. We'll do a few of these and then I'll finish these off behind the scenes. And then we'll bring you back for the next step. If you see a few gnats flying around, that's normal for this time of year. They follow the produce. Right now they're following my tomatoes. So now we're at the dice part. And it should go pretty quickly. And then we can get on to packing the jars and getting them ready for canning and then canning. And today I'm going to use a pressure canner, electric pressure canner. It's called a Nesco. And I'll walk through the steps with that and show you what I do when we get to that point. So now let's get dicing. Let me get my knife. Now what I do first is I'll slice the tomatoes in small slices. And I'll get a few of them going. Doesn't have to be perfect. And these are little slippery suckers. Once I get my plate full, then I'll throw them in my little chopper. And I'm really disappointed in this chopper. I bought a Ronco food craft chopper, and I've already got a blade busted on it when I was doing my bell peppers. And the reason I use this is it just gives it a smaller dice. So when you're canning or when you're using them, you don't have big chunks. Now you can do this by hand. I just don't anymore. It just takes too long. This speeds it up. And when I make my salsa, I don't dice it anymore. I make restaurant style, and I throw it in a food processor and break it down that way. But this is it, folks. Slice and dice. It's easy as pie. I wanted to bring something up while we're doing this. When you are blanching your tomatoes to peel them, you want to be very careful that you don't over blanch them, because they will get really soft and start to cook on you like this one did. It's a little one, but it got a little soft on me. This is another one that got a little soft. It's okay, it's not going to hurt anything, but you just want to be careful when you're blanching them, not to over blanch them. And one other thing, when you're peeling your tomatoes, leave your water for that you use to blanch on, because if you jump the gun like I do and you don't get them blanched enough for the skin to peel, you can throw them back in the water and let them go for a couple more minutes or a couple more seconds, just to get the skin to release even more. So we'll do a few more of these so you get the general idea, and then when we come back we will start stuffing jars. And by doing it this way also, it gives it more of a petite dice, so if you don't want big chunks of tomato and things that you're cooking, this works really well. One more. Okay, so we're moving on to our next step, and that is to get our jars packed. So that's what we're going to do right now. And I've got my handy dandy wooden spoon handle, because we're going to have to push some of the air out of these. Before I do that, I'm going to put some salt and sugar in each of the jars, which I did not get out. So I'll be back in a minute, you guys. I'll get that ready. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a half a teaspoon of kosher salt and a teaspoon of sugar in each of my pints. I use kosher salt. You can use canning salt. They're similar. It's not a big deal. So we'll start out with our salt. This is just to help with flavor and with canning. Now let's get our teaspoons in. I've always done this way. This is the way my mom showed me. But this ensures flavor. Sometimes your tomato crop can be a little less flavorful, so adding the salt helps bring out the sweetness, and adding the sweetness helps enhance the flavor of the sweet tomatoes. So we've got that done. Now we're going to start packing. And why I'm using the spoon handle is I want to push this down and get as much of the air pockets out of it as possible when I'm canning. And when you're doing this, you want to give it at least an inch of headroom before you put your lids on. I'm going to add a little bit of the juice to this. Now, if your tomatoes are dry, like these are pretty dry, you can actually add water to enhance, which I may have to do with this batch. I don't have a lot of liquid from the tomatoes. We have too many tomatoes in this one. Yep. That's okay. We can fix that. If you do what I just did, you can spoon some of that out of there and put it into your next jar, which is what I think I'm going to do here. Let me get a spoon out. And I apologize for my filming. My microphone's pooped out on me, so I don't have capabilities. And I have this other camera here on autofocus, so you may be moving in and out on me. Okay, so there's that. And I didn't pack that down very much, so we'll do that. And it's okay if you get some on the edges of the jar, because we're going to clean the edges before we put the lids and rings on. A little bit more. Not a lot. You do want to let these sit a little bit before you put the lids on, because even though we're pushing air pockets out of it, some of the moisture will still settle down in it, and you need to have some moisture to cover the tomatoes. And as I'm canning these, it looks like I may have to add a little water to them. I don't know yet. I try to move them out of my way so I can finish up. Kind of like steps to a process. Once you get them done, you move them out of the way and move on to the next one. Hopefully you can see this on the other camera. There's that one. And we're going to do one more here. Spoon down. Now I'm going to have a little extra tomatoes left over, I think. And I'm going to freeze those. Freeze them as is. Unless I decide to use them in a dish. Get them in there. Yeah, there's a couple of them I need a little more liquid in. So we're going to put the spoon down. I'm going to get this juice out of here. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Nope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some water. And it really doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold because you're going to put them in hot water anyway. So I'm going to add water to these to bring it up. And I'm still going to let them sit. There's a couple here. I'm going to give it a 1/2 inch of headroom. That should be good. Water doesn't deter from the flavor of the tomatoes. It just helps make sure that they all get in some type of a juice. I'm surprised that these are so dry. My water bill tells me they should be drier, or they should be moister. So there you go. We're going to let these set for a little bit. And I will be back in a minute or two to show you what we do next. Okay, I've got all of my jars canned. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to clean the edges off with a dry cloth. I use a paper towel. It works very good. And I'm going to wipe all of the stuffs off the edge of them to make sure that when I put my lids on, I can guarantee that I'm going to get a decent seal on the jars. And I do have a little bit of goop on them, so I got to be careful. So now that I've got everything wiped off, I'm going to add my lids. Now I used to boil these, and I found that you don't have to do that anymore. They have a good wax on them. So all you got to do is put them on. And got the lids on. So now I'm going to put my rings on. And you want to put them on and you want to have them hand tight. You don't want them really tight, but you do want them tight enough so that they'll hold the seal down and they will not come undone, which has happened to me already in the pressure canner while you're canning them. So I got them hand tightened. And now we need to move to our pressure cooker. So hang on, folks, and I'm going to move you and we'll get you done, get it done and get you over there. So I'm using my Nesco pressure canner. I've already got it set to airtight, and I've already got 8 cups of water on the inside of this with my rack. And because I only have 6 pints, I'm only going to do 3 at a time. So it's a cold pack, so the water's not hot right now. I don't want the water hot because it will crack the jars. So I'm going to sit my pints in here. go. There's my third one. I'm going to close my lid. And I'm going to turn it to seal. And then I'm going to hit pressure cook. And then I'm going to set my time for 25 minutes. And then I'll hit start. Now this little light here will spin around until the water gets hot enough, and then it'll switch to ECO, which means it's going to build up pressure, and as soon as it has enough pressure it'll switch over to the timer and it'll start pressure canning the produce. So now all we have to do is wait, folks, so I will be back shortly. So I've let my pressure canner sit for about 30 minutes after it's shut off to make sure that the pressure is gone, and I've already hit the exhaust so there's no hot air coming out of it, and I am going to now remove the jars. And I want to apologize to you, I haven't gone over a lot with this pressure canner. You can actually, when you purchase a pressure canner, they come with great instructions, and if you don't come with great instructions you can always YouTube it. So that I apologize for, but right now we're going to get the jars out and get them setting where they need to set. So hang on. And you do have to be careful, folks, because yes, this is hot. And I'm going to turn this a little bit. There we go. This is very hot and it will burn you. And I've got my 3 jars here from the start. I'm going to do my other 3, but I'm not going to bring you guys along for the ride because it takes too long. So I'm so glad you came along with me today for this experience, and I hope this encourages you to do your own canning. And like the apron says, grab your balls, it's canning time. And with that, I am going to bid you adieu, and we will see you on the next video. So thank you all again for coming along. I'm so glad you were here. Have a great evening.